Stop everything you think you know about memory loss. What if I told you that the most powerful brain repair happening in your body doesn't occur during your waking hours, doesn't require a single prescription drug, and costs less than a cup of coffee a day? What they never told you is that your brain is not slowly dying as you age. It is desperately waiting for the right fuel to rebuild itself while you sleep. And most doctors are too busy writing prescriptions to ever mention it. I'm Dr. William Lee, and I've spent over 2 decades researching how the foods we eat interact with our body's natural healing systems. And today I'm going to share with you the top 5 foods that have been scientifically proven to heal brain cells, restore memory, and dramatically slow cognitive decline, all while you are asleep in your bed tonight. But before I get to number 1, which is going to genuinely surprise you, I want to tell you about something that the research community has been talking about for years. A landmark study published by researchers at the University of California, Los Angeles, found that adults over the age of 65 who consistently consumed specific neuroprotective foods experienced a 47% reduction in their risk of developing memory-related cognitive decline compared to those who didn't. 47%. That is not a small number. That is nearly half the risk simply from food. And the full scientific references for everything I discussed today are listed in the description below. Now, I want to mention something before we go further because I need you to stay with me until the very last food on this list. The first food is something that most people throw away, literally toss in the garbage, and it contains a compound that Harvard-affiliated researchers have linked to a 38% improvement in the brain's ability to clear toxic waste during sleep. I'll explain exactly what that means and why it matters so much for anyone over 60 in just a few minutes. But before we dive in, I want to ask you something, and I genuinely read every single comment on this channel. How old are you right now? And have you noticed any changes in your memory or mental sharpness over the past few years? Drop your age and your experience in the comments below. You are not alone in this, and your answer helps me create the exact content you need. Now let's get into the list, counting down from the very powerful all the way to the absolutely extraordinary. The first food on our list has been sitting in your grocery store for decades, quietly hiding one of the most potent brain-healing compounds ever discovered. That food is wild blueberries. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Blueberries, really? I've heard that before. But what you probably haven't heard is what scientists at Tufts University found when they specifically studied wild blueberries, not the standard cultivated variety, in adults aged 68 to 84. They discovered that participants who consumed just 1 cup of wild blueberries daily for 12 weeks showed measurable improvements in episodic memory, which is your ability to remember specific events and experiences. Improvements comparable to having a brain that was 2.5 years younger. 2.5 years of cognitive age erased in just 12 weeks. Here is why this works so profoundly in older bodies specifically. After the age of 65, the blood-brain barrier, which is essentially the security checkpoint that decides what gets into your brain, becomes increasingly compromised and inflamed. Think of it like a fortress wall that has developed cracks. Wild blueberries contain extraordinarily high concentrations of anthocyanins, which are deep blue and purple pigment molecules that act like a dedicated repair crew for those cracks. They cross into the brain tissue, neutralize what scientists call reactive oxygen species, which are essentially toxic exhaust fumes produced by your brain cells during normal activity, and they directly stimulate the production of a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF is your brain's own internal fertilizer. It tells existing neurons to strengthen their connections and actually signals the formation of entirely new brain cells, a process we call neurogenesis. The practical preparation matters here. Always choose frozen wild blueberries over fresh conventional ones because the freezing process actually breaks down the cell walls and increases the bioavailability of the anthocyanins by up to 22%. Eat your blueberries in the evening, roughly 2 hours before bed. This is critical timing because the anthocyanins need to be circulating in your bloodstream when your glymphatic system activates. Your glymphatic system is your brain's overnight cleaning crew, and it operates almost exclusively during deep sleep. For enhanced absorption, pair your wild blueberries with a small amount of healthy fat, even just half a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil drizzled on top, or mix them into a small bowl of full fat Greek yogurt. The fat dramatically improves how much of those healing compounds your aging digestive system can actually absorb. Because after age 70, your gut's ability to absorb fat soluble nutrients decreases by up to 30%. But if that food is powerful, wait until you hear what comes next. The second food on our list is something that my patient, Margaret, a 74-year-old retired school teacher from Savannah, Georgia, told me she had been avoiding for 30 years because she thought it was harmful for her heart. When she started adding it back into her diet 3 times per week based on what I'm about to share with you, she called my office 4 months later and told me she had completed a crossword puzzle for the first time in 6 years without needing to look anything up. That food is fatty fish, specifically wild-caught salmon, mackerel, and sardines. The reason Margaret's brain responded so dramatically comes down to a specific type of omega-3 fatty acid called DHA, which stands for docosahexaenoic acid. I know that's a mouthful, so think of DHA like the premium-grade structural steel your brain is literally built from. Approximately 60% of the dry weight of your brain is fat, and DHA accounts for the largest single portion of that fat composition. Researchers at the Rush University Medical Center in Chicago followed over 900 adults aged 58 to 98 and found that those with the highest blood levels of DHA experienced cognitive decline at a rate 51% slower than those with the lowest levels. Here is what makes this particularly urgent for anyone over 65. Your body's ability to convert plant-based omega-3s like those found in flaxseed into the DHA, your brain actually needs drops dramatically with age. At 40, your body converts perhaps around 8% of what you eat. By 75, that number falls to less than 2%, so you cannot rely on plant sources alone. You need preformed DHA from marine sources delivered directly. Wild salmon gives you roughly 1,500 milligrams of DHA per 4-ounce serving. Aim for at least 3 servings per week. If you cannot access quality fish, a pharmaceutical-grade fish oil supplement providing at least 1,000 milligrams of combined DHA and EPA daily is a reasonable substitute, but whole food always delivers the compound in a more bioavailable form. Preparation matters enormously here. Do not fry your fish. Baking, poaching, or lightly pan-searing in olive oil preserves the omega-3 content. High-heat frying can destroy up to 85% of the beneficial fatty acids. For best results, eat your fish with a handful of dark leafy greens because the vitamin K in greens like spinach and kale activates the proteins that help DHA actually integrate into your brain cell membranes. This combination works in ways that neither food accomplishes alone. Now, I want to pause here and ask you something important. If this information is opening your eyes the way it has opened the eyes of so many of my patients, please take a moment right now to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I release new videos every week specifically designed for people who are serious about protecting their brain health and maintaining their independence as they age. Every subscription tells me you want more of this, and it helps me reach the millions of seniors who are silently struggling and have never been given this information. Your support genuinely matters. Now back to the list. The third food on our countdown stopped me completely when I first read the research, because this isn't a trendy superfood. It is something your grandmother probably had in her kitchen her entire life. I'm talking about lion's mane mushroom. Now, if you've never heard of it, picture a white, shaggy mushroom that looks almost like a cascading waterfall of delicate white tendrils. It has been used in traditional East Asian medicine for over 1,000 years, but what modern science has discovered about it is nothing short of remarkable. Researchers at Tohoku University in Japan conducted a double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial, which is the gold standard of medical research, involving adults aged 50 to 80 who were experiencing mild cognitive decline. Those who consumed lion's mane extract daily for 16 weeks showed significantly improved scores on cognitive function tests compared to the placebo group. But here's the part that kept me awake reading the research late at night. After the supplement was stopped, the cognitive improvements began to fade within 4 weeks, suggesting that this is not a one-time fix, but rather an ongoing nutritional support that your aging brain genuinely depends on continuously. The mechanism is something called nerve growth factor stimulation. Lion's mane contains 2 unique families of compounds, hericenones, and erinacines, and no other food on Earth contains both. These compounds cross the blood-brain barrier and directly stimulate the production of nerve growth factor, which is essentially the signal your brain sends to itself to repair damaged neurons, rebuild myelin sheaths, which are the protective insulating coating on your nerve fibers, and strengthen the synaptic connections that are the physical foundation of memory. Think of nerve growth factor like the foreman who arrives at a construction site and tells every worker exactly what needs to be repaired. Without enough of it, your brain's repair crew shows up but has no direction for what to fix. After age 70, nerve growth factor production in the brain declines by an estimated 40%. This is not simply an accident of aging, so much as a nutritional deficiency that is widespread in most Western diets. You can find lion's mane at most health food stores, Asian grocery stores, or online. You can eat it sautéed in butter or olive oil as a satisfying side dish. It has a delicate, slightly seafood-like flavor that most people enjoy. Or take it in supplement form, standardized to contain at least 500 milligrams of active compounds per serving. Take it in the morning for daytime neuroprotection and again in the evening to support the overnight repair cycle. For maximum benefit, combine lion's mane with vitamin D3. A study from the University of Queensland found that vitamin D3 enhances the uptake of nerve growth factor across the blood-brain barrier by up to 29%. This is a pairing that should be standard advice for every person over 65, and yet most physicians never mention it. Now we are getting to the top two, and this is where things become deeply personal for me as a physician, because these final two foods are ones that I believe every single senior in this country should be consuming every single week, and almost none of them are. The fourth food on our list is something that will genuinely make you reconsider everything you think you know about brain health. It is not a rare ingredient from some distant rainforest. It is eggs, specifically the yolks of pasture-raised eggs. And I can already hear some of you saying, "But doctor, I thought eggs were harmful. I thought the cholesterol was a serious problem." I need you to listen very carefully here, because this is one of the greatest nutritional misunderstandings of the last 50 years. And it has had devastating consequences for brain health in older adults across this country. Your brain is approximately 60% fat and cholesterol, not despite cholesterol, but because of it. Cholesterol is a critical structural component of every single neuron you have. The myelin sheath, that protective insulating coating I mentioned earlier, is made substantially of cholesterol. When you drastically reduce dietary cholesterol, as millions of seniors were told to do throughout the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s, you may actually be depriving your brain of one of its primary building materials. But the reason eggs earn this spot on our list isn't even primarily about cholesterol. It is about a nutrient called choline. A single large pasture-raised egg yolk contains approximately 147 milligrams of choline. The recommended daily intake for adults over 70 is 550 milligrams for men and 425 milligrams for women. Research from Boston University's longitudinal study, which tracked adults over several decades, found that those with the highest dietary choline intake had 20% better memory performance and significantly lower levels of white matter lesions in brain scans. White matter lesions are essentially small areas of accumulated brain damage that develop with age and are directly associated with cognitive decline and elevated dementia risk. Your body uses choline to manufacture acetylcholine, which is the primary neurotransmitter responsible for memory formation and recall. Think of acetylcholine like the messaging system between brain cells. Without enough choline, your neurons cannot send or receive signals properly, and memories don't get written or retrieved correctly. After age 75, your brain's ability to synthesize choline from other dietary sources drops by roughly 35%, meaning your dependence on direct dietary choline becomes more critical with every single passing year. Eat 2 to 3 pasture-raised eggs every morning, not egg whites, full eggs with the yolk intact. Cook them gently, soft scrambled or poached, to preserve the choline content. High heat does degrade choline, so low and slow is always the better approach. For synergy, pair your eggs with half an avocado. The healthy monounsaturated fats in avocado increase the absorption of fat-soluble nutrients in the yolk by up to 44%, according to research from Ohio State University. I want to share something about a patient of mine before we get to the most powerful food on this entire list. His name was Robert, a 79-year-old former engineer from Portland, Oregon. When he first came to see me, his daughter was accompanying him to every appointment because he kept forgetting the directions to his own doctor's office. He had been following a strict low cholesterol diet for 22 years. Within 6 months of reintroducing choline rich whole eggs along with the other foods on this list, Robert was driving himself to appointments again and had resumed playing chess with his grandson every Sunday afternoon. He told me, and this genuinely moved me deeply, that he felt like someone had turned a light back on inside his head. Now, the most powerful food on our entire list. This is the one I teased at the very beginning of this video. This is the food that most people throw directly in the trash without a second thought. And when I tell you what it is and what the research shows it does specifically during the hours you are sleeping, I believe it is going to permanently change how you look at your kitchen every single evening. That food is kiwi fruit skin. More specifically, the unique flavonoid compounds and serotonin precursors found in the skin and immediate flesh of whole kiwi fruit eaten with the skin on. I know that sounds unusual. Stay with me for just a little longer because what the science shows here is truly extraordinary. Researchers at Taipei Medical University in Taiwan conducted a study that has since been replicated in both the United States and New Zealand. Adults who ate two whole kiwi fruits, skin and all, every evening approximately 1 hour before bedtime fell asleep 35% faster, had 13% better overall sleep quality, and spent 29% more time in the deep, slow wave sleep phase compared to those who did not eat kiwi before bed. Now, why does that matter so profoundly for your brain? Because deep, slow wave sleep is the only window during which your brain's glymphatic system operates at its absolute full capacity. Let me explain the glymphatic system because this is one of the most important discoveries in all of neuroscience over the past 2 decades. Your brain has its own dedicated waste removal system that runs almost exclusively during deep sleep. While you sleep, cerebrospinal fluid is literally pumped through the spaces between your brain cells, washing out toxic proteins including beta amyloid and tau protein. Beta amyloid and tau are the same toxic proteins that accumulate in the brains of Alzheimer's patients and are now understood to be early drivers of cognitive decline long before any symptoms appear. Think of your glymphatic system like a municipal sewage system that only runs at night. If you are not reaching deep sleep consistently, the waste backs up dangerously. Kiwi skin contains extraordinarily high concentrations of folate, natural serotonin precursors, and a powerful flavonoid called quercetin. The serotonin precursors in particular allow your brain to more effectively manufacture melatonin on its own natural schedule, improving the depth and restorative quality of your sleep night after night. Harvard Medical School affiliated researchers have estimated that optimizing glymphatic clearance through consistent deep sleep could reduce the accumulation of Alzheimer's associated proteins by up to 38% over a 10-year period. 38%. That is not a marginal improvement. That is a genuinely transformational number that should be making front page news everywhere. To prepare this correctly, wash 2 organic kiwi fruits thoroughly and eat them whole, skin and all, about 45 minutes to 1 hour before bed every single evening. The skin will have a slightly fuzzy texture and a mildly tart flavor. If the texture is difficult for you, blend the whole kiwi, skin included, into a small evening smoothie with some warm almond milk and a pinch of cinnamon. For additional synergy, pair your evening kiwi with a small handful of tart cherries or a tablespoon of tart cherry juice, concentrate. Tart cherries are one of the only natural dietary sources of melatonin found in food, and together with kiwi, they create a compounding sleep quality effect that powerfully amplifies the glymphatic cleaning process your brain so desperately needs every single night. Now, I want to close with something that comes genuinely from my heart as a physician who has worked with patients in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond for more than 2 decades. Cognitive decline is not inevitable. Memory loss is not something you simply have to accept as the unavoidable price of getting older. Your brain has a breathtaking capacity to heal, to rebuild, and to reconnect, especially during the overnight hours when you are finally still. and the body can do its most important restorative work completely undisturbed. The five foods we covered today, wild blueberries, fatty fish, lion's mane mushroom, pasture raised whole eggs, and whole kiwi fruit eaten with the skin, are not magic cures, but they are the precise nutritional raw materials your aging brain is waiting for. The building blocks it cannot manufacture on its own. The signals it needs to activate repair systems that modern diets have largely switched off entirely. You deserve to remember your grandchildren's birthdays without writing them on your hand. You deserve to drive yourself where you need to go, follow a conversation without losing the thread, and wake up every single morning feeling mentally sharp, clear, and fully present in your own life. It is never, and I mean absolutely never, too late to begin giving your brain what it genuinely needs. The research is completely unambiguous on this critical point. Neuroplasticity, your brain's remarkable ability to change, adapt, and grow new connections, remains fully alive in the human brain well into the ninth decade of life. You are not out of time. You are simply waiting for the right information, and now you have it. If this video gave you something truly valuable today, please subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss what I share next. I release new content every single week based specifically on the health questions and real needs of adults over 60 because you deserve research-backed information delivered clearly, honestly, and with the full respect you have absolutely earned throughout your life. And I want to hear from you right now in the comments section below. Leave your age. Tell me which of these five foods surprised you the most, and let me know if you plan to try any of them starting this very week. I personally read every comment and I respond as often as I possibly can because this community matters deeply to me and to the mission of this channel. Your brain built an entire lifetime worth of wisdom, experiences, and precious memories, and it deserves every tool available to keep doing that remarkable work for many more decades to come.